Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Kim and in today's video we are going to focus on the negative present tense. This video is split into 6 parts. First we're going to learn how to form the negative present tense. Then in the second chapter we're going to take a look at the negative present tense of all the 6 verb types. This chapter is, by the way, at the same time also a repetition of how to find the verb stem. Then we carry on with the olla verb in its negative form, followed by chapter 4, in which we will focus on how to form negative questions such as don't you or don't we, and so on. In chapter 5 we will as always go through some example sentences, followed by chapter 6, where we are going to practice what we've learned today by solving some exercises together. So let's start with our first chapter, how to form the negative present tense. So when we want to say I don't sleep in Finnish, then we say minä en nuku. So en is our negative verb, and then we have nuku here, which is the verb stem of the verb nukua, which means to sleep. By the way, if you're unsure what a verb stem is or how to find it, we will also go quickly through it in a moment. Now let's focus first on what a negative verb actually is. In the Finnish language, there is a negative verb which gets conjugated for all persons. So let's see what it means. I don't in Finnish is minä en. You don't is sinä et. He or she doesn't is hän ei. We don't is me emme. You don't plural is te ette. And they don't is he eivät. Alright, now we want to say I don't sleep, so that means that the negative verb gets followed by the verb stem. So let's see what it means. I don't sleep is minä en nuku. Minä en, I don't, and nuku is our verb stem of the verb nukua. You don't sleep is sinä et nuku. He or she doesn't sleep is hän ei nuku. We don't sleep is me emme nuku. You don't sleep is te ette nuku. And they don't sleep is he eivät nuku. So as you see here, the verb stem stays always the same for all persons. In other words, nuku doesn't change. Now let's move on to our next topic, the negative present tense for all the verb types. So on your very left side you see the verb types, and then we see the infinitive verbs which belong to the verb types. So let's start with our first verb. Sanoa means to say. We want to say I don't say, so I don't is minä en, and now we have to add the verb stem, which is sano. So minä en sano means I don't say. By the way, how do we receive the verb stem of verb type 1? We gotta have to remove the last letter a or a from the infinitive verb. So that means from sanoa we remove the last letter a and we remain with sano, which is our verb stem. So that is why we say minä en sano. I don't say. Next one, verb type 2, juoda. We wanna say you don't drink. So you don't is sinä et, and juo is our verb stem. To receive the verb stem of verb type 2, we gotta have to remove either ta or de from the infinitive verb. So here it means juoda changes to juo, which is why we say sinä et juo, meaning you don't drink. Next one, verb type 3, opiskella means to study. We wanna say he or she doesn't study, so in Finnish it's hän ei opiskele. Hän ei, he or she doesn't, and opiskella here is our verb stem. How do we receive the verb stem of verb type 3? We gotta have to remove the 2 last letters of the infinitive verb, which means opiskella changes to opiskel, and then we gotta have to add the English vowel e to it, and we get opiskella, which is our verb stem. So hän ei opiskele means he or she doesn't study. Next one, verb type 4, is haluta, means to want. We wanna say we don't want, so it's me emme halua. Me emme means we don't, and halua is the verb stem of haluta. In order to get the verb stem of verb type 4, we also have to remove the 2 last letters of the infinitive verb, which means haluta changes to halu. And then we have to add the vowel a to it, and we get halua. Halua is the verb stem of haluta, which is why we say me emme halua, meaning we don't want. Next one, verb type 5, mainita. Mainita means to mention. We wanna say you don't mention, so it's te ette mainitse. So te ette means you don't, plural, and mainitse is the verb stem. How do we get the verb stem of verb type 5? Also here we gotta have to remove the two last letters of the infinitive verb. So mainita changes to maini. Then we gotta have to add tse to it, which means we remain with mainitse as our verb stem. So that is why we say te ette mainitse. You don't mention. And our last example for verb type 6, vanheta, means to age or to become older. Now we want to say they don't age. So it's he eivät vanhene. He eivät means they don't, and vanhene is the verb stem of vanheta. How do we get the verb stem of verb type 6? Again, also here we gotta have to remove the two last letters of the infinitive verb. So vanheta changes to vanhe, and then we gotta have to add ne to it, and we remain with vanhene as our verb stem. That's why they don't age is he eivät vanhene. Nice. Now let's move on to our third chapter, the olla verb in its negative form. So olla means to be. When we want to say I'm not, then we say minä en ole. You're not is sinä et ole. He or she isn't, hän ei ole. We are not is me emme ole. You are not is te ette ole. And they are not is he eivät ole. So as you also see here, the negative verb gets conjugated for all the persons. That's why we say minä en, sinä et, hän ei, and so on. But ole, which is our verb stem, stays always the same. Alright, we carry on with chapter 4, the negative questions. First, let's take a look at this sentence. Sinä et puhu englantia means you don't speak English. Now, if you want to ask, don't you speak English? Then we gotta have to put the negative verb, which is et here, to the first position of the question, followed by the question marker, go. So that means we receive etkö sinä, which means don't you. And then we just add the verb stem to it, which is puhu. So we get etkö sinä puhu, meaning don't you speak what? Englantia, meaning English, standing in the partitive case. So let's repeat. Sinä et puhu englantia. You don't speak English. And the question, etkö sinä puhu englantia? Don't you speak English? Now let's go through all the persons again. Don't I is enkö minä. Don't you is etkö sinä. Doesn't he or doesn't she is eikö hän. Don't we is emmekö me. Don't you, plural, is ettekö te. And don't they is eivätkö he. Great. Now let's do form some easy questions. Enkö minä puhu englantia means don't I speak English. Etkö sinä puhu saksaa means don't you speak German. Eikö hän puhu espanjaa means doesn't he or doesn't she speak Spanish. Emmekö me puhu norjaa means don't we speak Norwegian. Ettekö te puhu japania? Don't you speak Japanese? Plural form here. And our last one, eivätkö he puhu suomea? Means don't they speak Finnish? Alright, now we arrived at chapter 5. Let's go through some example sentences. So let's start with an easy one. Amy ei lue paljon means Amy doesn't read much. So Amy ei lue means Amy doesn't read. It's the third person singular negative present tense of the verb lukea, which means to read. This verb is, by the way, affected by the consonant gradation. And then we have paljon, which means much. So let's repeat. Amy ei lue paljon. Amy doesn't read much. Alright, next one. En tule, vaan jään kotiin. Means I'm not coming, but I'll stay at home, or it can be also translated as I'm not coming, I rather stay at home. So let's go step by step. En tule means I'm not coming. It's the first person singular negative present tense of the verb tulla, which means to come. Then we have vaan, which is but or rather, and it's used to show contrast or to indicate a difference between two things. So in this example, it shows, I'm not coming, but I stay at home. I'm not coming, I rather stay at home. So you see here the contrast. And then we have the verb jään, which is the first person singular present tense of the verb jäädä, which means to stay. And this verb requires the location we're staying at to be in the elative case, which is why it's followed by the word kotiin. Kotiin is the elative case of the word koti, which means home. So let's repeat. En tule, vaan jään kotiin. I'm not coming, but I stay at home. Next one. Käsineet eivät ole laatikossa. Means the gloves aren't in the drawer. Let's go through it. Käsineet means the gloves. This is, by the way, a word that does always stand in the T plural. Eivät ole means are not. It's the third person plural, negative present tense of the verb olla. Here we need the third person plural because of käsineet. And then we have laatikossa, which means in the drawer. It's the inessive case of laatikko. So let's repeat. Käsineet eivät ole laatikossa. The gloves aren't in the drawer. Next one. En kerro heille tästä means I won't tell them about this or I don't tell them about this. So, en kerro is the first person singular negative present tense of the verb kertoa, which means to tell. Then we have heille, which can be translated as to them. With heille, we indicate the recipient of an action. So as in our example here, I won't tell them about this. Heille is the elative plural of he. And then we have tästä, which can be translated as about this. It's the elative case of tämä, which means this. So what's important to know here is when we have the verb kertoa, which means to tell, then the person we're telling something has to stand in the elative case and the matter we're talking about has to stand in the elative case, which is why we say here tästä. So let's repeat. En kerro heille tästä. I won't tell them about this. Next one. Kauppa ei ole enää auki. The store isn't open any longer. So kauppa means store. Ei ole means is not. Third person singular here because of kauppa. Enää means any longer and auki means open. So let's repeat. Kauppa ei ole enää auki. The store isn't open any longer. Next one. En saa unta means I can't sleep. Literally it means I can't get sleep. So en saa is the first person singular negative present tense of the verb saada, which means here to get, and unta is the partitive case of the noun uni, which means either dream or sleep. Also what should be mentioned here is the expression saada unta, which means to get sleep or can get sleep. We use this expression when we want to say that someone is having difficulties with falling asleep. And as already mentioned before, uni is a noun which means either sleep or dream. Here in this context, it refers to the state of sleeping rather than dreaming. Alright, so let's repeat. En saa unta means I can't get sleep. Next one. Minä en ole naimisissa means I'm not married. Minä en ole means I'm not. Naimisissa means married. Minä en ole naimisissa. I'm not married. Next one. Minä en asu isossa kaupungissa means I don't live in a big city. So minä en asu means I don't live. Its basic form is asua, which means to live. And then we have isossa kaupungissa, which means in a big city. Kaupungissa is the inessive case of kaupunki, which means city. And isossa is the inessive case of iso, which means big. And it's standing here in the inessive case because it's referring to kaupunki, which means city. So let's repeat. Minä en asu isossa kaupungissa. I don't live in a big city. Next one. He eivät tiedä, että olen täällä means they don't know that I'm here. So, he eivät tiedä means they don't know. It's the third person singular negative present tense of the verb tietää, which means to know. Then we have että, which means that. Olen means I am. First person singular present tense of the verb olla, which means to be, and täällä means here. So let's repeat. He eivät tiedä, että olen täällä. They don't know that I'm here. Next one. Lasse ei mene kouluun, koska hän on sairas. Means Lasse doesn't go to school because he's sick. So Lasse ei mene means Lasse doesn't go. It's the third person singular negative present tense of the verb mennä, which means to go. Then we have kouluun, which is the elative case of the noun koulu, which means school. Here we need the elative case because we want to express where to is Lasse not going. He's not going to school. That's why we use the elative case here. Koska means because, and then hän on sairas, which means he's sick. So let's repeat. Lasse ei mene kouluun, koska hän on sairas. Lasse doesn't go to school because he's sick. One more example before we carry on with our test. En voi tulla mukaan, koska minulla ei ole aikaa. Literally means I can't come with because I don't have time. In proper English, we would rather translate it as I can't join you because I don't have time. So en voi means I cannot. It's the first person singular negative present tense of the verb voida, which means can. Then we have tulla mukaan, which literally means to come with. This term is usually used when we want someone to accompany us or someone to join us in doing something. Then we have koska, which means because, and minulla ei ole aikaa, means I don't have time. You probably already know that minulla ei ole structure. It belongs to the possession structure. Minulla on, minulla ei ole. So let's repeat. En voi tulla mukaan, koska minulla ei ole aikaa. I can't come with because I don't have time, or I can't join you because I don't have time. Alright, now we move on to chapter 6 where we are going to practice what we've learned today. So here we have 11 positive verbs, and what we're gonna have to do here is to make them negative. For each verb we have 5 seconds. So let's go. Verb type 1, minä katson, means I watch. The negative present tense of it is, that's right, it's minä en katso. I don't watch. Next one. He lähtevät means they leave. The negative form is, it's he eivät lähte, which means they don't leave. This verb is affected by the consonant gradation. Next one, verb type 2. Sinä tuot means you bring. The negative form is, excellent, it's sinä et tuo. Sinä et tuo. You don't bring. Next one, verb type 3. Hän tekee means he or she does. The negative form is, that's right, it's hän ei tee. Hän ei tee, which means he or she doesn't do. This verb is, by the way, an irregular one. Its basic form is tehdä. Alright, next one, verb type 3. He menevät means they go. The negative form is, yes, it's he eivät mene. He eivät mene. They don't go. Next one, minä kuuntelen means I listen. The negative form is, very good, it's minä en kuuntele. The basic form of this verb is kuunnella, which belongs to verb type 3 and it's affected by the consonant gradation. Next one, verb type 4, te haluatte, meaning you want. The negative form is, yes, it's te ette halua. Te ette halua. You don't want. Next one, minä tykkään means I like. The negative form is, excellent, it's minä en tykkää. Also, this verb is affected by the consonant gradation, and its basic form is tukeda. Next one, verb type 5. He mainitsevat means they mention. The negative form is very good. It's he eivät mainitse. He eivät mainitse. They don't mention. Alright, verb type 6. He vanhenevat means they age. We want to form the negative present tense out of it, which is he eivät vanhene. They don't age. And our last one, minä lämpenän, means I'm getting warmer. The negative form is perfect. It's minä en lämpenä. Minä en lämpenä. Also, this verb is affected by the consonant gradation, and its basic form is lämmätä, which means getting warmer or to heat up. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to learn more Finnish, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day and see you next time.